ALC Global.
One of the things that I want you to always remember, never forget, I say it week after week after week, because repetition is one of the foundations of teaching. It is one of the foundations of learning. And so I repeat certain things, not that because I forgot I said it last week, but no, it's because I keep repeating certain things because it's necessary. I want you to imagine a figure 8. I want you to imagine an 8, just like you see it like that. I want you to take that 8, and I want you to flip it on its side. Then I want you to lay it down flat. Build some walls up around the sides of the 8. Then I want you to take a hose pipe and fill it with water. Some say, well, I don't know what a hose pipe is. Well, just fill it with water. Fill it with water. Go get your bathing suit on, and then I want you to sit in this warm water. Why y'all laugh when I said bathing suit? Well, if it's abundance, you ain't got to have no bathing suit on. If you want all of it, take all of it. All right. Okay. Whatever you're going to do, just sit in the water. Sit in that water and just let that water, and turn on the jacuzzi things on the side and let it bubble and flow and bubble up and everything. This is abundance. It is flowing all around you. It's flowing on your hand. However deep you have made your figure 8, whatever it is, if you slump down in it, if wherever you are, just sit there and let it flow all around you. If you take it all the way up to your neck, that's all right. Just let it flow all around you. So I know your head is above the water so you can breathe, unless you got snorkels or whatever. However, up at the top, near your head, near your mind, there are other things that are floating. And those things that are floating, like wind, like air, like just breezes all around you, are creative ideas. Now, I normally don't do this or say something like this on Sunday. I reserve this in mentoring sessions or in private sessions, because these kind of insights are worth stuff. Most people, whether you know it or not, don't have them or understand them. But creative ideas, here we go. It's just because I love you. Creative ideas are always floating around you. Not just floating, but they're moving around you and through you, like through your mind, through everything. They even mix up in the water. Sometimes they hold their breath. But when I think of creative ideas, I don't think about just ideas that are just floating around. To me, they are energy. They are spirits. Little bitty, energetic spirits. Every idea has its own concept of living, just like protons and neutrons and electrons. So are ideas. Now, since they are all around you and floating around you, every now and then an idea will become intrigued with your mind and look at you and see, oh, you have something going on here. Oh, there's a certain piece of education. Oh, there is a book that you've read. Oh, you're curious about this or curious about that. And that little creative energy, it could be a play, it could be a book, it could be an idea, it could be someone that has been looking at you for a while and find out that they love you or think about you more. They don't know about love yet, because love takes a while to get to. We always say love, but I'll get to that later, because that's, but they see that they're curious about you. They would like to know more about you. You may discover these energies are whispers. They're just thoughts riding upon the wind and they see you, and then they tap you on your shoulder and ask you, are you interested in communicating with me? And the idea will say that, and you may say, I'm busy. Or I have enough ideas going on in my head right now. I don't need to be bothered down with this. Or, who are you? Where you come from? Who's your mom? Who's your daddy? It could be anything. And you may brush people off. You may brush ideas off. You may brush things off. You may brush messages off. You may brush words off because you're very busy in what you're doing. It may then tap you again and say, hi. It could be an idea for a paragraph. It could be a business idea. It could be something that wants to take you higher than your business concept that you believe is almighty and all-powerful now, but will take humility inside of you to realize that what I'm doing right now can be much more. And so but maybe now is not the time. Maybe you grab it. Maybe it is. But it's tapping on you. It may hang around for a few days. It may hang around for a few weeks, a few months. It may even hang around for a few years. It might leave, and then it might come back because it's just interested in you. But then, like any potential friend or lover or friend, it may say, well, if you're not interested in me, I think it's time for me to move on. And then the idea will move on. 2 or 3 years later, or maybe 4 years later, you open up the newspaper, look at a commercial, look at television, and you say, and you're sitting with a couple of your friends, you say, wow. And you look at the TV and you say, that's my idea. Somebody stole my idea. Well, unfortunately, what the Christians taught you that if God gave it to you, it's yours. If it's for you, then nobody else can have it. That's not quite true. Well, if God has it for you, it's for you, and nobody else can have it. Well, no. It floats around, and if you're not interested in it, it is not going to allow itself to die on the vine. It's going to find someone else and tap on their shoulder, and that person will say, hey, let's talk. And if that idea finds them interesting enough, they may hang around and become a type of muse, or become a type of inspiration, or become a type of revelation to them and reveal its inner workings. Because you see, love does not open itself immediately. It opens itself up slowly, for in the midst of these spirits and energies and ideas are what we would consider the kingdom of God. For I was just reading, and I'm going down a rabbit trail, but I'll go quick and hop right back. And when God, it says that Jesus was, and this is just something I'm thinking about. Don't hold me to it. Don't ask me for a full teaching on it, because it's not there yet. It's still in the oven, and I shouldn't be taking it out of the oven, but I can't help but open the oven up to look at it and stick a toothpick in it to see if it's done all the way through. I can't help it. So I've got to at least share a little bit to you. But it reminds me of when Jesus in John chapter 3, when he was talking to Nicodemus, and he says to Nicodemus said, teacher, you're a great teacher from God. And Jesus said, yeah. And Nicodemus said, hey, I'm here by night, because if I come by day, everybody will see me coming to hear you prophetically, and people will know that I'm hanging out at your church, and I don't want everybody to know that. Jesus said, Nicodemus, listen, you're a great teacher yourself, you know all these things. He says, but if you want to understand things about the kingdom of, you must be born again. I think it captured me because I've been hearing so much about born again on television here lately, and how the conservative movement called themselves, Jimmy Carter, I'm a born again Christian, and Billy Graham wrote the book Born Again to explain what it means to be born again. I'm a born again Christian. And we just took it and really don't even understand what it actually means. So I'm learning things that I really don't understand what it means, or maybe somebody else made it a buzzword. I'm starting to have the courage to let some of these things go. And let them, because it's not an idea that I want to maintain. Jesus didn't say, Nicodemus, you must be born again. Jesus told Nicodemus, you must be born from above. That's what the word again is a King James word, and above is the actual Greek word for again. You must be born from above. Nicodemus didn't understand it. He says, how can I go into my mother's womb? Because Nicodemus didn't understand. He didn't hear the word above. He just heard the word born. And that's why Jesus said, you're a great teacher and you don't understand this thing. And he said, Jesus began to say, and that's when we get John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. For whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have life everlasting. And I said, oh my God, this is the cake that I'm checking to see whether it's baked yet. Let me stick a toothpick in it. Not quite yet. But it smells so good, I'll still give you a little piece of the crust on the edge of it. But John 3:16, for God so loved, for God loved. What is love? If we can't understand love, how in the world are you going to understand so love? I was talking to someone. You see, love is something that is a part of you between two, if I was used to people that have reached that plateau of that. So love is what brings about the concepts of birth. It brings about the concepts of entering in, the concepts of covenants, the concept of all of these things. For God so loved the world that he birthed himself. How can God birth himself? How can he do that? Because he's not a he. God is not a man that he should lie. Jesus said God is a spirit. For he, not he. When I say he, it's because I don't have the adequate vocabulary to explain any better than what I've been explained to. For God so loved the world. The world is not aeon, which means generation. We're not talking generations like Jesus said, go ye therefore into all the world, or into all the generations, and lo, I will be with you even unto the end of the world, or end of the age, or end of the aeon, or the end of the generation. He says, God so loved the cosmos. The universe. See, you have such a problem with the universe. God so loved the universe that he birthed himself. And he came to us, and so whosoever followeth him will not perish. John chapter 6, read it. But have life eternal, life everlasting, or the overflowing life. It's not what Billy Graham them said. Pressed their hearts, they did the best they could. But they are only coming from what we call a Calvinist perspective. A European Calvinist Christian perspective. And we are beginning to learn more. And as we learn more, it is making people nervous. Because as we learn more, we're beginning to find the courage to reject some things that we have been told if you reject it, you're going to hell. And we're finding out We're not going to go to hell if we reject this. Maybe you will go to hell for teaching this hellish doctrine. And for those that are willing to explore, then according to your faith, be it unto you. For those of you who are willing to open up your minds and to open yourself up and follow Jesus into places and to read his scriptures afresh and brand new, something good is about to happen in your life. There is a flow of abundance that you have never ever experienced. That's not going to happen because you're believing. No. It's because you're going to walk in this flow. And when you finally understand this level of love that he has for you, it's going to change everything. I talked about quicksand last week, and I don't know if I told you this or not. I might have told you. If I didn't, I'll just tell you again so I don't have it on my brain wondering. But I learned something about quicksand. And what I learned about quicksand is that quicksand comes as water flows in and flows out. And when it flows in, it makes the sand soft. You can go in, but when it flows out, it will harden. And that's why it's so hard to get out of quicksand. But there is one way to survive quicksand, because the more you move, the more you will sink. The more you move your legs, the more you will sink. Because you see, panic will set in, and you feel yourself going down and feel yourself dying. The only way to survive quicksand is to float. You said, but you can't float on quicksand. Oh, yes, you can. The only way to float on quicksand is to open up your legs and your arms and lay back and don't move. And it takes a mind that is disciplined or discipled enough to not move, to teach your body not to move and to just lay there. You will feel a sinking sensation, but you will not sink as fast as you would if you moved, which will give others enough time to come get you. That's where, so love is learning to lay back. Faith is learning to wait, to give yourself enough time for somebody to get you. And you're even allowed to say, help. And if you start to sink, I got news for you. He is close enough. When Peter began to sink on the water, he cried out, Lord, save me. And before he could say the last E on the word me, God had already reached down his hand, grabbed him by his hair, pulled him up and said, what's going on with you, boy? You were doing so good. Come on, let's go back. But Jesus did not stop the storm and walk him back. He made him walk back in the midst of the storm. I've come through many hard trials. Oh, temptations on every hand. But the Lord was there to guide me, even though Satan had tried to stop me and to place my feet on sinking sand. But through all of my fears and all of my tears and all of the trials and all of the temptations, you know what I learned? I learned that Jesus was there, and he has kept me even in the midst of the storm. My testimony is not that I've been a man who's been delivered. I've been a man who has been kept. If you were to look inside of my heart, you would see some spaces that are just pumping and blood red and look so wonderful. And you say, look at that part of your heart, it looks so good. I would say, yeah, but there was a time when there was a break there. And if you look, you say, oh, I see another space. And it's like a slight scar that was there. I say, yeah, that was when that happened. There was a crack over here. Yeah, that's when that happened. Then you might find another space in my heart where it's open enough, even with traces of blood. I say, oh, that's a fresh one. That just happened. How were you able to survive with the scars and the cracks? And how is it all able to come? I said, because he's kept me. I no longer beg him for deliverance. I no longer beg him to help me. Because I already know that he's going to help me because he loves me. Jesus walked the water after his disciples, as I told you last week, not because he wanted to show them a miracle, but because he forgot that he was talking to the Father and said, Father, and put God on hold to get out to the people that he loved. This is who he is.
I know I'm not supposed to be interrupting right here, but remember, myalc.org. That's myalc.org. And you can also give at 713-742-2035. You can use your text to give or use your app. If you're on the app, you can go right to that donate button and it won't change anything. You say, why in the world would you break my concentration? I'm sorry. But I wanted you to remember, because you know what? Just like there's a break in here, there's also going to be a breakthrough in your life. I believe that. Now, let's go back.
What kind of man would put God on hold to come for the people that he loves? That's what the disciples couldn't understand, because they said, what manner of man is this? Yes, 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 yes. I have learned certain things that they tell you that you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. And well, what happens if it don't happen for me? What happens if I need this by 12 midnight and it's 11:59? I know they tell you that God will show up at 11:59. But if there's anything I've learned, trust him to 12:01. Trust him to 12:02. Trust him to 12:05. You said 12:30, 1 a.m. You say, but what if he never comes? Well, I'll tell you, like the 3 Hebrew boys once said, look, told the king, look, our Lord is able, my God is able to deliver us from this fiery furnace. But if not, he certainly will deliver us out of your hands. You see, I'm not worried about Trump. I'm not worried about MAGA. I'm not worried about Republicans. I'm not worried about Israel. And I'm not worried about any of it, because if they try to harm me, God may not deliver me from the repercussions, but he'll deliver us out of their hands. Look at somebody and tell them he'll deliver us out of their hands. One of the things I learned, and I'll get to my scripture in a minute, is actually going to be out of 2 places. It's actually out of 1 Corinthians 13, which I may not get to. I'll just reference to it. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, if you just want to be there, and 2 Corinthians chapter 12. and that whole first part of that chapter. And I was listening to something that was an old 70-year-old woman, just not, when you get 70 years old, I was talking about Joe Biden, he's older, and I couldn't understand. I said, why do I like Joe Biden even at this age? I said, because I'm pretty close. It's one thing to say that's old until you start getting there. And so, and so I turned around, and the woman said, and I have a tendency, dealing with people and love and things of that sort. And what I learned, the woman said, listen, when you're 20 or 30 years old, you worried about what folks saying about you, about what they talking about you, what they thinking about you. And you try to wear the right clothes or drive the right car, live in the right neighborhoods because, your friends are thinking about you. Finally, when you get to about 40, 50 years, when you get to 30, 40, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, you realize something. I don't care what they're thinking about. At all. Yeah, I don't care what they're thinking about. But your wisdom actually comes when you get into your 60s and your 70s. And when you get into your 60s and your 70s, that's when you finally understand they were not thinking about you at all anyway. Because people only care about themselves. Now, Beyonce may be able to drop a single on the country, and I like the country song she dropped. Some don't like it, but I like it. And everybody will applaud for a while. They go to the Grammys and applaud for a while. They might win the Super Bowl, applaud for a while. Gee, what happens is people can get caught up in what I call constant applause. They want that all day and all night. They might as well just go ahead and record it for a while and just put it on a loop so they can hear someone applauding them. All applause is when people take their attention, turn it towards you for a little while, and applause. But it won't be long before their attention will turn back to themselves. Once you understand, that is why you got folk doing crazy stuff, and you wonder why the good people, they don't care nothing about them, but the bad people do bad stuff, they take them to the top of the charts. It gets attention. But after a while, even that applause dies down. When you come to understand that folk ain't thinking about you anyway, then you can go ahead and do the things that you want to do. And you realize something about yourself. If they don't care about you, then you need to focus on some of the things that you need to do. So what is it? You begin to understand things about love, about loving, first of all, yourself. Okay? You can't love anybody until you love yourself. You can't understand other folk until you begin to understand yourself. You can't walk in relationship with other folk until you're able to walk in relationship with yourself. Intimacy does not work right until you're first of all able to have intimacy with yourself. You cannot let anyone into your sanctuary until you have learned that both of you have sanctuaries, and you have to go into a type of relationship first to be able to enter into that sanctified place, first of all in your mind and then your body. That's why it's never right on Tumblr. That's what, no, no, tumbler, yes, y'all know what it is. That's why it's never right on the media thing and the fans, with the fans club, what is that? Only fans. That's why it's never quite right on these things. Because if you're just looking for a hookup, you will get that, a hookup. And ultimately it will be unhooked. And you will find somebody has hooked up somewhere else and left the hook with you. So in relationship, you're looking for someone who can see you. Because this is where you begin this concept of love. Back in the 1940s, there was something, actually began before then, but there was something, 1930s, began something that was called apartheid. Some of you may remember it. Some of you say, well, that's Nelson Mandela and all of those things. 50 years. And they had a saying when the black South Africans would see each other. The Afrikaners were the 80% of the population were black. 20% ran the country. It was called apartheid. And what would happen is the 20%, they were Dutch, but not just Dutch people. Don't go off into the race. Apartheid came about because they had taught themselves through the Dutch Reformed Church that they were better and that they must be seen while others will not. That they have the ideas while others do not. That they are smart, clean, and worthy while others were dark and filthy. Which is why the South Africans, they were called the South Africans, the blacks, the Afrikaners were the Dutch. There were those in between called the colored, and yeah, but I don't have time. I only got so much time with you. Look it up if you want to know more about it. And what happened was their religion, they had a battle with the Zulu nation, and the Zulu nation lost. 3,000 of the Zulus were killed. None of the Afrikaners were killed. They took that as a sign from God that the country belonged to them. Never mind the fact that they had also found up under the ground gold and diamonds. Let's not go there. But they felt that God had given them that land. Same as the Puritans that had come to America. Now, the connection between the Afrikaners or the Dutch Reformed Church and the Puritans, Anglicans, were that they both were called Calvinists. Calvinists believed that only a certain number of people would go to heaven, but nobody knew exactly who they were. So they would live a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way, so that other people in the community or the Puritan or in the 1600s would believe they were the pure ones that were going to heaven. They were the chosen or the ones that were predestined. If you were of a darker color, you could not be predestined because you did not have a soul. Which was why they believed that Christians could not be saved until blacks began to accept Christianity. Now, why did blacks accept Christianity? Because they finally figured out, oh, that's what y'all talking about. You see, Christianity had already flowed down through Africa. It had flowed down through Egypt and actually came more so through the church back in the early 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th century in Ethiopia. Christianity as well as Islam had flowed. Islam had moved closer down to West Africa, while Christianity had moved down through Ethiopia and around the Congo in mid-Africa. And so, but mostly in West Africa, there was Islam, slight trickles of colonized Christianity, as well as something they called African spirituality. African spirituality is what people will tell you that's voodoo, that's hoodoo, that's the African bumping and thumping and booking and everything. Sound familiar? That's what we do in our churches sometimes, and which we are told we are not supposed to do that because that comes out of deepest, darkest Africa. And so now you began to realize, well, they cut off African spirituality, get rid of it. And so now begin to realize that our spirituality is a combination of trickles of Christianity, but we realize the concepts of Christianity were not just during the time of Jesus, but it was 300, 500, even 1,000 years before Jesus even came to the earth. Now I got your attention, because how in the world can you have Christianity with Jesus not even being here yet? The same way as Jesus, in other words, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In most Christians' mind, we think in the beginning was the Bible. Yeah, but that's the Word. That's what they keep saying. This is my Word. This is the Word of God. The Word of God is not the Bible. If that's the case, then Jesus was not in the Word, because Jesus had no Bible. Jesus only had the Word. Find me where Jesus had a Bible, because it had not been written yet. Because Jesus was not reading the Word, he was the Word. And the funny part about it is, before he left, he told us, and you are the Word also, because I go to my Father. So he made you the Word before they printed the Word. And it is this revelation. Now, what was the greatest revelation that was left to Christians? That was found in Antioch, where there were 18 races in that particular area of that realm right there. And these 18 races, I shouldn't call them races, but 18 species or nations of people came together as Christians. And it says, here is why the first time they were ever called Christians was in Antioch. And the first bishop of the church of Antioch was a black bishop that came out of Ethiopia, out of Africa. That was before someone had separated black and white. That's before they start putting boxes on the papers. Are you Latino? Are you white? Are you black? There is no black. There is no Latino. There is no white. There is no Hispanic. There is none of those. But baby, that's why we need to stop calling ourselves black. No, now you are reacting because of your desire to be valued to the white. Right now, you got to be black, until you can get rid of the stigmas and the stigmatas. Because I'm going to tell you something. There's only one way you're going to get through this one. It is not prayer. You're going to have to win this. And all that not voting and all that other kind of stuff, you're going to have to use the system and win this. And if you don't win it, it's going to take you 50 years, because what they learned in South Africa is that the Afrikaners would walk past the South Africans and would not look at them. Because the key to the Dutch Reformed Church, they had taught themselves the theory that these people are not people. Therefore, I do not see them. That is why the Africans during that time would walk past each other and say, I see you. because their employers would not see them. Oh, but after Nelson Mandela got through, they saw him. They saw him then. But they had to go against the Dutch Reformed Church. And you may have to go against some of these Christian nationalist concepts and reevaluate your Christianity. You say, oh, now that means everything is wrong. No, it means you got to move deeper. And here's where I leave you. I leave you right here in 1 Corinthians 13. I'm going to go back, go right over there to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And it says this: if I speak, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, it says, anybody know the rest of it? What does it say? Holler it back at me. I am sounding brass, tinkling cymbals. That's the King James. Clanging cymbal would be in the New King James. In other words, though I speak with the tongues of men and angels and have not love, I sound like a fool. You ever been to a church where folks sound in there, and the Lord said, and it sounds foolish, but you can't understand why? Though I have the gift of prophecy, though I can preach like Paul, and though I understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can move mountains, and have not love, what does it say? What? I am nothing. Where in the Bible does God want you to ever say I am nothing? Right here. If you don't have love, nothing must follow your I am. That is why you can't put on all your garments and your beads and your crosses and preach great messages and give your theories and concepts and don't love folk. It says, and though I bestow all of my worldly gifts and to feed the poor, give them Thanksgiving food and give them Christmas gifts, and all of these are wonderful things, and bring my little $3 Christmas present and not even give a $10 gift to the church to help it go forward, and think I've done something. Though I give to bestow upon the poor, and though I become a martyr and give my body to be burned, so that as I burn and lift my eyes up to heaven like Joan d'Arc and realize, I come, Lord Jesus, and here I come. How much she loved Jesus. He says, though I do that, it says, based on a 0 weight, it profiteth me nothing. Love is long-suffering. Love is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. That's why I tell the guys that are with me, they're with me to make sure I don't run into walls and stuff because of eyesight. I don't need an entourage. Love does not parade itself around to prove that it's someone. Love does not puff itself up and say, yes, I'm the pastor. Yes, I'm a leader at the church. Love does not puff itself. Yes, I'm the president. Yes, I'm a senator. Yes, you can lose like anybody else, and we're going to make sure some of you do. Love does not puff itself up. Love does not show rudeness. It does not seek its own all the time. But I didn't want to go through that whole thing. What I want to do is get down to this other part down there where it says as you go down, you'll find that if you don't see it right off, probably 3 or 4 verses down, it says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I thought as a child. I understood as a child. Actually, I spoke as a child, understood, and thought as a child. But when I became a woman, when I became a man, I put away, or a mature person, a full-grown spiritual person, I put away childish things. For now we look through a mirror dimly. Say glass dimly. Say glass dimly. Your King James Version will say, now we look through a glass darkly. In other words, at that particular time, they didn't have glass mirrors. They had highly polished brass, which means you could see your image, but it was fuzzy. It was not as clear as a mirror that we have today. So now we look through a glass dimly. It's not clear. It says, but when that which is perfect, or who is complete has come, then we will see ourselves as we are seen. You see that? When you look at yourself in the mirror, you may look at yourself in the mirror and you say, oh my, look at that pimple over there. Oh my God, let me bust that over there. Oh my God, my hair is receding, flying is healing. Oh my God, look at that gray hair. Ooh, where's that thing coming from, that gray hair coming from? Oh my God, what kind of clothes I got on? My colors don't even match. Oh Lord, my shoes ain't even right. What's going on with me? I don't look like I need to look. I need to go to the store. I need to go do something. And look at the, oh my God, I can pinch more than an inch. What's going on with me? I look in the mirror, but it says, but now when that which is complete has come, then we will be seen as he sees us. We will see ourselves through the eyes of God. Now, if we see ourselves through the eyes of the perfect, or through the eyes of the complete, or through the eyes of God, or see ourselves through the eyes, not when we go to heaven, but as we are now, then now what is happening is God is looking at himself through his own mirror. And when God sees himself, God does not see dimly. God sees God. And therefore, when he is in you and sees himself, he sees you. And here is where I end it. 2 Corinthians 12, and this is where I will probably pick up and begin, whenever I do begin again. And it says this. Paul says, I was taken up to the third heaven, and I saw things that were unlawful for me to understand. I couldn't explain it because I couldn't talk about it. I didn't know how to vocalize what I saw. In other words, he saw himself through the eyes of God. He saw God looking at him because God was in him looking at him. Paul says, and after I got back out of that vision, he says, I was like on a high. God had given me a revelation of myself. And this became the template. And lest I be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelation, there was given unto me a thorn in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I become lifted up above my normal place. Let me tell you something. Say, God is lifting me up. You are lifted because of the abundance of the revelation. The abundance, and we can apply this template to anything. Hope, love, any of these things. But if we apply it to love, what happens is when you begin to catch a revelation of love, you move into the first level of love. The first level that's going to lead you in on the path toward love. You ain't at love yet, because you can't get there until you get through these 4 things I'm going to tell you. The first one is you must be noticed, and you must be able to notice others. Because if you can't see them, if you can't be seen, then you will always sense yourself as below You will have the revelation of this. But there will always be, and this is what I say for the last part of the message, because if I had told you in the beginning, you might have walked out of the door. That there is a messenger of Satan who is there to take you down every time you see yourself above your normal measure. It is the job of the devil's messenger, and he never leaves. He sits in the corner with toothpicks picking his teeth, waiting on you to get a revelation of your image of yourself. When James Brown sings, "I'm black and I'm proud," and you rise up a little bit, or Jesse Jackson says, "I am somebody," and you lift your head, that messenger of Satan is said, "Yeah, but you ain't getting no voting rights." They're there to take you down every single time, and you will then become weak, and you will be like, "I am nothing. I am sounding brass. I am not profitable." And you will tell God, "Remove this thing from me." And that's when he says to you, "My grace is sufficient. For when I am nothing, when I am weak, then am I strong." I'll pick it up next time.
Let me break in here for a second. I want to tell you a little secret. There is something I used to do. It was commodity trading. And they used to have something on the list called winter wheat. I never knew what it was, never paid any attention to it, because in my northern background, all I saw in the winter was hard ground, snow. How could anything grow? Well, I learned different. I learned that winter wheat was something that was planted around the fall, around September, October. And when it was planted, they didn't just throw the seed out there on the ground. Of course, it would be too hard. But they drilled down into the earth and almost like planted them one by one. Now, when the snow came and the winter came, it would go dormant. But when the spring came, it would come up again. And they would harvest it around that time. Winter wheat. In other words, there are things in our lives that we plant in times when people think they won't grow. There's a number 9 that I believe symbolizes finality. It symbolizes harvest. It symbolizes the end of something, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, you start all over again. This is 2024. 2, 2, 4 equals 8, new beginnings. But watch this. You can plant during the new beginnings, but you can't eat the harvest until later. When you plant something, it takes time. Sometimes it's dormant. Sometimes there's a winter. Sometimes you feel like everything is shut down, just like the earth is shut down in the winter. But you know what? Spring is coming. A different kind of growth is about to take place. So what you thought was not going to happen is going to happen. It's a seed that you plant in the earth. The seed and the need. The need is in the seed, and the seed is in the need. So whatever it is that you need, and whatever needs you see around you, plant it. It might be $9.90. It might be, for those of you who have it, and people have it, it might be $90.90, or it might be $99.90, whatever. Put a 9 in that offering. It might just be $9. Whatever it is, take the time Plant it now. You can call the number, you can text to give. People love it. 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. Or you can go to myalc.org. I love myalc.org. It's safe, it's secure. And you can hit that donate button, smash it, crash it, hit it. Let it be known that you're there. And you will see how to do it. Look, there are a lot of needs around in this world. There's going to be a lot of issues coming up. It's going to look like everything is lying dormant. But remember, if you put your seed in the ground, it's already coming up while you're not thinking about it. In the wintertime, it's not the heat from the sun outside that will grow this seed. Guess what? It's going to be the warmth of the sun inside that will make this seed come to life. It's going to be a warmth, like warm oil inside of you. Give, you'll feel it, and it will make a difference not only in the lives of others, but also in your life. All right? We love you. Stay blessed. Religion tells you that God is up there and you're down here. Religion tells you that God is over there and you're over here. Religion? Heard it all? I thought so too. Someone once challenged me not to think of the creator of the universe as just some big guy in the sky. I see it as more than that. This power helps us raise our kids. It helps us to get our businesses together. Makes us who we are. Now imagine this power not as some big guy in the sky, but as a power working in you. Now, how amazing would your life be?
Looking for something more? Go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. The Abundant Life Center for dynamic living through spiritual growth.
I'm Ed Montgomery. Looking for more?